Another important activity that we'll start out doing in discovery is identifying personas. So personas represent idealized users of your system. And you can see in this example from Dolby Labs, they have consumer personas that represent different classes of users or different target markets for their product. And any successful product will typically have more than one class of user. And just at a very simple level, if you're building a website, there might be different classes of users. For example, the people who are your consumers and the people who administer your system. Those are also personas as well. For example, customer support might be another persona. So there's always going to be several personas, but for your target market, there's going to be at least one and probably several different personas that you're going to have to think about. However, it's important not to become too diffused with your personas. That means you don't want to have 5 possible target markets or idealized users for the first iteration of your product. For the first iteration of your product, you want to be very focused on one persona, on one target market who is going to want your product. And Richard Sheridan tells a story about working at Menlo Innovation, which is the company he founded, where they created a whole stack of personas and they put concentric targets on the table and said, you're only allowed 1 persona in the middle of the target, 2 in the next circle, 3 in the circle around that. And that activity is great because his customers, his product managers, never wanted to pick just 1 persona to put in the middle. They would always say, we want to dominate the sector. And so actually finding one person that you're going to focus on is a hard activity. Another really critical concern when you're building personas is to make sure they're representative. And I'm just going to show you a video which shows what happens if you don't do a good job of this.
Nice. Okay, Noel, you try now. Come to your hand. 2 black? 2 black. Yeah. Come again. Come again, sir.
What I have to do to get what you have to do, so ritualist thing is, I have to use that piece of white. Let's say a napkin, I'll show them it. Again, napkin again. What's it called in the hand?
Man, black man getting fighting all over. Oh boy.
This is something that is becoming more and more problematic as we develop machine learning based products where training those models on representative data sets is actually a huge problem, and there have been very well publicized examples at even big companies like Google and Microsoft where ML based models have discriminated against black people and people of color because of this problem. They just didn't test adequately against people who are not white men. So making sure that your personas are representative is really important because that will also inform your testing and the way you think about testing. So there's a lot of complexity in picking good personas, and well-developed personas will draw on a ton of data and market research about your target market. So we're not typically going to develop full personas in the context of doing discovery, but we're going to build what's called proto-personas, which are very lightly sketched out versions of our personas. If you remember the MVP discussion, the sketch drawing of the Mona Lisa, that is a proto-persona. And so we're going to build those during discovery. One of the key things we're trying to do with personas is develop empathy with our customers. As it says here, remember your personas should reflect real people with real motivations, desires, and concerns. When we lose sight of the human element, the customer isn't far behind. So this is really important because those personas will live with you through the whole product lifecycle. They're tools that will help us produce better user experiences, more persuasive copy, our pricing models, and they'll inform the data we use to test our models and our prototypes and our products. They're really crucial.